part 1 of our series on waste management and the compost cycle. Let's talk about trash. My name is Dr. Jamie, and I'm an educator at Metro. Metro is a regional government of the greater Portland area, and one of the things we do is take care of garbage. Now, why should we talk about trash? Humans have always been creating trash, and it tells a lot about who we are, what we ate, what we value, what the climate was like, and what we like to use. In the 18th century, people used to throw their garbage into the street. Then there were night crews that came by to pick it up, put it in their carts, and sometimes they would take it to a large garbage dump near the city. Or sometimes they would take it down to the river and dump it in the water. As our cities grew, we had to come up with some other ideas to take care of all of our garbage. And so garbage was sent away and put in these large landfills, a space to dump lots of trash. Some of these landfills were not well taken care of, and this can cause a lot of environmental problems. Many of the items that were sent to landfills don't decompose or break down very slowly, sometimes leaking toxic chemicals that are bad for the environment. Another issue was that the locations of these landfills and the people who were transporting the garbage were sometimes from areas of underserved populations, folks who were not represented when decisions were made. Their health and safety were sometimes at risk. This raised multiple social and environmental injustices to these communities. This meant that some people and the environment were not treated equally and fairly. Many times their voices were not part of the planning process. Something needed to change. Over time, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and local governments created ways to clean up landfills that were causing pollution and started working with the communities to carefully plan what happens to our garbage and where it ends up. Currently, we have a lot of different systems in place to be able to minimize the environmental damage of our garbage. One of these are called transfer stations. When the garbage is taken there, we have systems put in place to reclaim items that could be recycled. We are now able to compact it so it takes up less space, and we're able to safely dispose of hazardous materials. For example, items like batteries should not be sent to the landfill as it may leak over time and could cause a fire. So where does all your garbage go? If you're here in the Portland area, we have 2 transfer stations where the garbage leaves your home. It will either go to Metro Central, which is in North Portland, or Metro South, which is in Oregon City. If you're interested in learning more about these sites, we do have a virtual visit video of Metro Central, and we have a live camera streaming on our website so that you can see exactly what's going on at the Metro South garbage collection area, sometimes called the pit. Now, as you can see in this screenshot, there is a front loader truck in the middle of the pit pushing the garbage into the compactors right under the camera. The compacted garbage will be put into semis and then driven 140 miles away to Arlington, Oregon. That's where our landfill is located. When I was first going out to see our landfill, this is the image I had in mind. I thought it was going to be a big pit and there was going to be garbage everywhere right on the top. But what was interesting, it did not look that way at all. I actually would never have known that it was a landfill if I had driven by it on the road. So when you go into the science of a landfill, you have to understand the geology of the area. We do have to drive pretty far to get to Arlington, but Arlington is located in the high desert. It doesn't rain there very much, unlike in Portland. Actually, a majority of landfills are located in areas where it doesn't rain very much. They are called dry landfills. That way, we don't have a lot of water getting into our garbage. We've all sort of had that experience where you pick up our garbage bag and you see that sort of garbage juice at the bottom sort of leaking out. That is what was called the landfill leachate. And that could be very damaging to the environment and you get into the groundwater. So we have to make sure that the areas where we put our garbage, it's going to be well protected. This is what a landfill would look like from the side. It's anatomy. A drawing of something's anatomy is like looking at the different parts of an animal's body and creating a map that shows how it all works together. So when you look at the anatomy of a landfill, they had to figure out how are they going to block that garbage juice or leachate from getting into our environment. So in this bottom view, you can see that they looked at the geology. The landfill was placed in an area that had already had compacted clay on that lower level. And the clay is really good at blocking water or leachate. Then they place a geomembrane. That's a sort of plastic liner that's going to be able, again, keep that leachate out of groundwater and the environment. The next layers are garbage. Every day, the semis will come in and they will dump the garbage. And by the end of that night, they will cover it up with dirt. These are called garbage cells, all the garbage from one day. Again, this is very different from what I was expecting. I expected to see a lot of garbage everywhere. But when I visited, they only had one area open each day. The semi trucks would tip the garbage into it, and by the end of the night, it'd be covered up by dirt. Over time, these garbage cells are becoming filled up. And when there's no more room in this landfill, then it's time to cover it all up and retire the landfill. Its work is done. Or is it? The last part of a well-maintained landfill is the cap. Here again, we're going to be using some geology knowledge. We're going to be putting in some of that compacted clay and then another geomembrane to be able to cover up the whole landfill. And then on top, we can put some vegetation so it looks really nice. However, once the capping is complete, we can't just walk away. A landfill is forever. It must be maintained. The reason we have to maintain a closed landfill is because of a gas called methane. Methane is a hydrocarbon gas, and it's rather flammable, so it could cause fires at the landfill. It's produced when organic materials decompose anaerobically or without air. Methane is also one of the greenhouse gases that traps heat and contributes to climate disruption. If you'd like to learn more about the greenhouse effect on our planet, you can listen to the videos we have on climate change. During the creation of the landfill, methane vacuum wells are placed through all the layers of garbage. The wells are a series of tubes that go through the garbage cells and collects this gas and safely moves it away from the landfill. As the landfill collects methane, it's sent over to a different facility where they can safely burn it, heat up water, and have that hot water turn a turbine, which creates electricity. So they're able to create more electricity for the community just from collecting that methane. Now let's go back and think, where is that methane coming from? What in our garbage is breaking down and releasing methane? If we look at the data of an average breakdown of the garbage in the Portland regional area, it may not be exactly what your garbage might look like. Let's pause this video and take a moment to think, what is causing that methane to be released? So what's your prediction? When I looked through this, I thought, well, there's wood, that's organic, and it could possibly release some methane. There's some paper, and that maybe could have been recycled, but it's also organic. Metal or plastic wouldn't release a lot of methane. But did you notice that almost 30% of the average garbage is food scraps or wasted food? This could be things like the core of your apple or maybe some leftovers that went bad. In the next video, we'll start thinking about what we can do to reduce the amount of food that's going to the landfill. If you're interested in looking at the virtual tour of the Metro transfer station, finding the live cam to see what's going on in the garbage world today, or watching the climate change videos, you can see these at our website, oregonmetro.gov/distance learning. See you in the next video.